guys hear the news? The Forbidden Wall just opened up.
Hasn't it been like 50 years since anyone's been back in there?
Why do you have to do this?
It's the best climbers in the world, and I'm one of them. It's pulling at me, and you don't know how that feels.
You're right. But I know what it feels like to lose someone.
Still going, Dad?
Yeah, I know.
Quiet down, people, quiet down. We'll be climbing in 3 teams of 2. So spread out the 3 teams, converge on the crux. 3 days, 2 nights tops, and move fast. Hey, everyone good?
Something seems off about this whole thing.
Colton, this is base camp. Do you copy?
Anyone, do you copy?
It's not always what you can see, it's what you can hear.
There's a bunch of comparisons you can make. In my mind, I was always, I still am a really big The Thing fan. You know, Carpenter's great film from the early '80s. So, I was trying to play a little bit along with those kind of themes of unseen alien jumps into people's head for that kind of psychological thriller horror feeling that Carpenter had going in there. Yeah, I did move to Colorado right after college. Made my parents extremely happy to go be a ski bum after that, and just learned how to operate in the mountains, and got really into ice climbing and rock climbing and all the other stuff that happens out there. And never really, back then I was really young and I wasn't thinking about filmmaking. I was just having fun. I actually got into live music production after that in Colorado and started working my way into production. And so it's always been in the back of my mind to have something kind of exciting that I've liked in the past, like Cliffhanger or Vertical Limit, which I think are entertaining film, are not very authentic as far as the climbing and how it portrays the climbing and stuff like that. Fun movies, right? I mean, who doesn't love Cliffhanger? But the climbing community doesn't really like it as far as what they did. Of course, they got sued by Black Diamond big time for what they did in that opening sequence. So that's always been part of my, not plan per se, but to make something that is a little bit more authentic to the climbing community. As far as the Native American goes, as you can tell, I'm a big white Irish guy from upstate New York, but I did grow up in a town that is named after an Iroquois words, and growing up in the 80s, we did a lot of studying about the Native American aspects of where I grew up in upstate New York, from a town called Saratoga Springs, which is Iroquois for land of the running water. So I've always had an interest in Native Americans, and I played lacrosse, which is kind of their sport, since I was a little kid, and played in a lot of leagues with the Iroquois Nationals and stuff like that, and got to know them. And so I've just always been really respectful of their culture and their heritage. And when there's an opportunity to kind of bring that storyline into some fictional features, then I try to do it. For this particular movie, I didn't really do much though. Wayne is actually an authentic Raven Clan chief from Squamish, British Columbia. His wife is a full-blood Mohawk. She did all the costumes or wardrobe for the Native Americans, and I just kind of left it for them. As a Wayne story used his family name, his tribe name that he wanted to do. So you kind of have to, when you're like me, I'm obviously not Native American, and you have to tread carefully with some of these things about, it's not my story to tell. So I brought the Native Americans in to kind of bolster that storyline. Yeah, it's the reality of big wall rock climbing is that it's kind of boring. and it takes hours and hours and hours, right? They do these, like, even Free Solo, which is one of the most exciting documentaries I've ever seen. You know, it took him 5 hours or something to do that climb, and they show what, 10 minutes of it maybe, right? So you have to look for little moments in this, trying to make it authentic, because an authentic climbing movie is kind of boring except for little spots where they may be exposed to a fall or something like that. So that was a challenge to keep it authentic while still providing scares or tension or thrills like that by involving little things where the lead character is off rope and he slips and he might fall or something like that, which is in the realm of possibility. I was pretty adamant though that I wanted to make sure that everything the climbers did was possible for real climbers, right? You know, when Chris O'Donnell jumps from one peak to the other in vertical limit with his 2 ice axes, it's fun and exciting, but it's not real, right? That's what happens. He goes like this and he falls to his death, right? That's what's going to happen in real life. So it takes a balance to try to make things exciting as far as like a Hollywood, movie, while still also trying to be authentic to rock climbing. And that's why I decided, pretty early on in the process that I couldn't film this with like necessarily a regular production crew or with actors. Turns out SAG doesn't want you to put people 1,000 feet in the air, they're actors up there. So I basically made 2 separate movies. One was a straight rock climbing film with professional rock climbers and a professional rock climbing shoot team, and the other with actors and a professional production crew, and then kind of tried to meld them in post. Yeah, I'm always kind of thinking of doing cool things for credits or something like that, make it a little bit interesting than just a scroll. And those were all pictures of them personal in their lives. It wasn't even having to do with the film. Most of the people who were cast in this as rock climbers are rock climbers in their personal lives, maybe not professional, but Marc, the lead who plays Sean, is an accomplished rock climber. All of them basically are. And so I wanted to kind of like add a little bit to that authenticity of showing them, doing this sport where typically, it's an actor who doesn't. That's one of my favorite parts of the Truman Show, where they tell the bus driver can't drive away in the bus because he's an actor, right? And this particular movie, I wanted to make sure the actors were actually a part of the skills, had the skills that they were portraying. Kind of like I'm a little bit old here, but the original Point Break, when Catherine cast those surfers, she looked for surfers with SAG cars instead of teaching actors how to surf. Those background ones, obviously not Swayze or Keanu, but so I kind of approached it the same way. I was looking for rock climbers who were also actors and moving forward from that. When you're talking about a film like this, you're always looking for angles to be able to promote and market the film, right? If you're not building a film in pre-production that you can market later, you're probably doing something wrong as a filmmaker, because without the business, there's no show, right? As the old saying goes. So that role was always kind of earmarked for maybe a more visible actor, and it turned out that the actor Gabe Greenspan, who's Jason Alexander's son, did an amazing job, was represented by the same agent who represents Bill. And after I booked Gabe, I'm a big fan of what's the worst that can happen? They can say no, right? That's, it's like, hey, I see you represent Bill. Would Bill be interested in this part? And he read the script and was in it. And so we got him into the film. And what an amazing actor, person to work with, and just an all-around great guy outside of the business. Really was an absolute pleasure to work with Bill, and I feel very fortunate that he joined the project. As far as Kyle, I've always been a big Tenacious D fan. I actually worked with them when I was a roadie, 25 years ago, back when they were first starting out. And who doesn't love Elf and Kyle's turn as Eugene Dupree and Elf and stuff like that. So that was another kind of serendipitous thing where I was working with Kyle's agent who at the time represented David Clennon, who made an appearance in the film, and Jocelyn Hudon, who also makes an appearance in the film. And so I kind of bundled those three actors and kind of like a disc. Hey, if I cast these two people, I get a discount on Kyle, kind of thing. So a lot of times, how this casting goes when you're not necessarily looking for auditions and your normal casting director is going through all the tapes and stuff, and I'm just looking to fill roles. A lot of it just kind of comes together, and it's about working relationships with people in the business, the agents who are getting these people work. So that was very helpful to be able to kind of one-stop shop those casting decisions. When you're Yeah, absolutely. I mean, when I saw The Thing, I think I was about 10 years old, and it scared the shit out of me. I mean, really, it's a scary movie, right? And it's just stuck. It's one of those films that just sticks with you. And I like to think that, he kind of, I don't want to throw words like invent, but he kind of started the contained horror before that was even a thing, right? Nobody was talking about contained horror, but there it is, like, 12 people stuck in a base in Antarctica. And that's where, for me, the tension is really derived from, is that they can't escape each other and they don't know who's infected, right? And then there's obviously a lot of gore and blood and disgusting stuff in The Thing that we don't really necessarily get into. But I tried to bring a little bit of that kind of tension and unknown psychologicalness to this. It's a little bit more difficult when you're on a big wall rock climb, because the people aren't in proximity to each other, right? Like they are in The Thing. When you've got 5 people sitting around a little room and they're testing the blood, which is one of my favorite scenes of all time, is when they're testing the blood to see who's infected. And I tried to do my little throwback to that at the top, where they're testing on the radio to see if it is. I kind of combine the good and bad and the ugly in that standoff there at the end between Angel Eyes Blondie and Tuco. With that test, right? And I just, hopefully people catch it when Dave says, it's not like Antarctica down there, because I did want to give him a little bit of a throwback to Palmer there. And I can't say enough great things about Dave. Became a really good personal friend. We still text. He's coming up to the premiere here in Vegas, and just an all-around stand-up person and tremendous actor that extremely grateful for him for joining the project. For him, his name is Kurt Carpenter. Now, it never really comes out. He's called Kurt, and I combined Kurt Russell with John Carpenter there to give him a little thing. But it's not. I think he's called Kurt once in the film, but it's just one of those little details, right, that make me chuckle that no one else will. Well, you always like to think so, right? But a lot of times this is determined on, like somebody gives you a bag of money to go film a sequel, right? So we'll see how people respond to this, and whether I do have a script written and an idea. Just basically picks up from the ending of this. It goes a little bit bigger, filming in Norway and Italy and around the world. That's a higher budget thing. Part of this, doing the sound, is that we had to learn how to shoot a rock climbing feature horror, which I'm sure someone out there has done something. I firmly believe that every movie has been made in the 1950s by some French person, right? We're all recycling ideas here. So, but we had to kind of learn how to do this at our budget level. It's a little bit different. About $100 million, okay, then you can use digi doubles, you can green screen everything, right? You can make it look like Mission Impossible. But on our budget, it takes a little bit more ingenuity to pull some of this stuff off. So hopefully, we can continue the story. You never know. I'm a big fan, obviously, who isn't, of Christopher Nolan and the way that he kind of likes to leave some of his films that little up in the air of like, is the top still spinning, or is he still in the dream, or is he not in the dream? So I kind of like to leave things a little open-ended at the end, so that people can imagine if there's no more, if there isn't a sequel, people can at least imagine that the story continues in whatever way that they think that it might go. Thanks so much, Glenn.
I heard these voices.
Don't cry. Making it to the top is not worth your life.
How many clumsy people know where someone died? Wait a minute, you're telling me that you don't know what's going on up here?
No, I don't, but I'm gonna find out. Just like you.
Don't do this.
Jump!
Yeah, this is gonna be fun. This is gonna be fun.
June 27th, in theaters and on digital.